Hi everyone, I'm just trying to position this camera. See if So I put a movie on that I watched this weekend, The Interpreter. I watched it a long time ago, but we have free apps in Canada when you buy these TVs that you can stream on. And so I found it on one of the apps, Tubi, and it basically takes you through finding God in the dark. So this movie is basically about how this interpreter overhears an assassination that's being plotted, and how she goes through her emotions, because she came from Africa, and Nicole Kidman does a good job of mimicking the accent of a fictional place that she's lived in Africa. But it takes you through all the complexities of what people like me deal with in our lives. Thankfully, in Zimbabwe, we do not have child soldiers. We do not promote it, let's put it that way. We had child soldiers in the Rhodesian War. Most of our guys were young. I mean, they were children when they went into the war. And the Rhodesia-Zimbabwe War was horrific. But it takes you through the complexities of how guns land up in children's hands, how people get educated overseas and then go back to Africa, and we hope that things will change. They get big degrees from the UK, from America, and all these places with the hope that they will take the values of justice and mercy and implement those in their countries so that populations can rise up and have a middle class and grow and flourish. But what ends up happening in reality is different in many places, not just in Africa. So when I took my courses for spiritual direction with Father Monty Williams, Monty took us through a process of how to evaluate films with a view of faith, with the lens of faith. And so if you look in that story, you can look in this movie and through the plot and story about how the crucifixion takes place in people's lives. You can look at how there's a call for revenge and justice, and then where is God's mercy in all of this? And where is God's mercy and justice working in us and in the plot of the movie to bring about redemption that transforms? Is it in the revenge that says an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? Or is it in the process of justice being followed? So I recommend the movie. I mean, it's got a good plot. It's an old movie. I watched it a long, long time ago, and I decided to watch it again, and it's very good. It's very good because the choices that are made in that movie are very much the reality on the ground in many places. Many times you'll hear of a bus being blown up somewhere in Africa, or you'll hear of an accident taking place somewhere in the world. And the reality is that it may not have been just an accident, or just a bus crash, or just a faulty plane. The reality is that sometimes there are professional people on that bus, on that plane, traveling, and they're being targeted. And unfortunately, it's the reality. It's just the reality. So, I mean, it might not be what we want to hear or what we want to see, but it's the reality. And that film is fictional, but the way they put it together is very, very good, because if you think about life and you think about what we grew up with the planes being shot down, Samora Machel, political leaders, different political leaders, we've lived this experience. And I mean, here, like they always say, oh yeah, there's so much nepotism in Africa, in Zimbabwe, it's who you know that gets you the jobs. Well, the same thing happens here. I mean, it's who you know that lands up opening the doors for you. You can get your initial jobs through the agencies or through people, but there are certain families that hold the political power. There are certain families that will get the support. Someone like me can do all the right things, support my mom, help the family, do the right things by my brother and sister. I can do all of that and I can get no support to get into a good paying job. Even with recommendations from the parish priest, from visiting priests, from sisters, from lecturers, recommending me, putting in a word for me, providing references, even in writing to the Archdiocese of Toronto, through my professors, verbally. Even with all of that, I still can't get a good paying job. So when people say these things only happen in Africa, no, they do not. They happen here. They happen in America, they happen in Canada, they happen in England. And if you happen to get into a job that pays you well, and you get the support in that role, and you get the promotions, you're very fortunate. But in this society here, there is a lot of nepotism, and it is a lot of people being moved around. If you see it in the banks too. People get moved from one bank to the other bank. When people get let go, you'll find that they'll move them into another bank, or they'll move them into United Way, or they'll move them into a position with a non-profit. It's just the reality. So I'm hoping that with all these referrals and all these recommendations I've had, and people putting in a word for me, not only here, but from England, from South Africa, from Wits University, from Regis College, I'm hoping that a good paying job will open up for me. Because, I mean, the reality is that in life, we make choices. We make choices that will either lead to more pain, more heartache, more destruction, or we can lead to choices that will lead to more freedom, more justice, more mercy. It's easy to take somebody's life, and then what? Then that person is dead and gone, and then what? Then your life also gets taken, and then your family can suffer, and then the vicious circle can continue, like in the ghetto, in that song. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. But then I'm not a vengeful person, so I obviously, because I love people and I make a choice to love, even when things are bitter for me, even when things are hard for me, I obviously make those choices out of my faith. Will I get the reward? I sure hope so, because I don't want heaven to be a place where I do all the work and then I die and then God says, oh, thanks, Belinda, you did all that work, but you know what? I'm going to take all these people, give them all the benefits of heaven, and you're still going to go to purgatory and go to hell. Because that's what's happening to my life here in Canada. And I don't like it. So I hope you watch that movie. Yes, it is a little bit frightening in places. I wouldn't recommend it for children. But it's a brilliant movie. And we don't really get movies like that anymore. It came out of a certain time, a certain genre. Things are too politically correct today. So if you get a chance, I recommend it, watch it. It's a good movie, and just see how you can see God's justice and mercy working in that. How you can see the Christ story being played out and where it's being played out. And just see how it plays out in the end. A different ending could have been chosen. We had a shocking news with the attempted assassination of President Trump. I mean, it's just shocking. Just shocking. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say, but watch the movie, and I hope you enjoy it. It's my recommendation. And these things that I'm doing are the things that we are supposed to do as spiritual directors. When we graduate from Regis College, they tell us, go into your parish, try to set up classes, try to set up book clubs, try to have movie nights, and you run them. But unfortunately for me, that hasn't happened. So I'm doing it this way because this is what I am supposed to do as a spiritual director, is to try to help others to deepen their faith and to come to pass on the gifts and what I've learned to others so that other people can also learn and benefit and take people for spiritual direction. So that's it. I'll keep on doing it. I'll keep on trying, and hopefully one day soon I'll give you a message saying, hey, I got a brilliant paying job, and it's a good executive assistant role, and thank you for your prayers. Until then, please do keep praying, and please do keep watching and liking and sharing my videos.